our governments have as a whole decided that it's a good thing for people to learn English, but that while they're learning English or they're unable to learn English, it's important for us to provide all the residents of this country with services, whether they've learned English or not.
It's not easy for people to learn a language overnight, and it takes a while. In the meanwhile, you've got to function in a community.
Almost 33.5 million people living in the U.S. came from another country.
My family, we came from Thailand.
And my mom's side is Salvadorian.
I was born in Veracruz, Mexico.
My family's from Mexico.
My family came from Laos.
Over 18% of the country doesn't speak English at home.
In California, 40% don't speak English at home.
I know it was very difficult for my parents that they did not know how to speak English and how to read and write. In Laos, my parents were self-sufficient. My father was considered somewhat of a community leader. People looked up to them. When they came to the United States, they have to look up to other people to help. Things like translating, like going to the grocery store, going to the doctor's office. They couldn't do it on their own. They needed someone to help them.
I mean, kids culturally, when they're dealing with a monolingual, non-English speaking adults, are brokers, always. That's been true throughout our history. And so it's natural that it happens in healthcare and governmental settings.
Social services, health insurance, Social Security, even things as common as needing telephone service or PG&E service. It still requires interpreting and filling out forms, and children do that for their parents regularly.
The service provider knows that somebody speaks English and they don't bother to obey the law. It's cheaper. It's understandable to try to save money. It's wrong, it's illegal, but I can understand the desire to try to save money, and you do it by saying, what's your mother's name? Let's fill out the form. Can you tell your mother to be back at 3? And then when she comes back at 3, you start getting more complicated, and you fall into the pattern of using the kid because it seems to be working. Hey, I told the kid to tell her to be back at 3, and she got back at 3. So why can't the kid serve as an interpreter for more complicated situations? And the trouble with that is it presents huge legal and medical problems of competency.
When I have to translate, I get nervous sometimes, and it's real hard for me. Sometimes I don't know some words, and I have to be making up words, and I'm like, oh. And sometimes I even lie, and I feel guilty, but I can't do anything about it.
And sometimes I'll find the word, but then sometimes I'll blank out and I don't know what to say.
I'm not an expert at the English language or the Spanish, so it's really hard to translate.